Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. We hope everyone is doing well. My name is Alicia Hildebrand. I am the Volunteer and Integration Coordinator here at Regional Connections. Today we have Bryce Greening from BSI Insurance to talk about renters insurance. Some of you may have heard them as renters insurance, but also tenant insurance is another term of use, and so that type of insurance is very important for people renting a home or an apartment in your community. Just a couple of housekeeping rules, or not rules, but housekeeping information. If you have questions, feel free to use the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen or the chat option, and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered. This webinar is going to be recorded and provided on YouTube afterwards as a way of connecting people to this information after today. Yeah, so we're gonna get started. Bryce is here with me in the office, so I will pass him on to you. Pass the webinar on to him. It's Friday. I'm feeling like it's Friday. And then we will get him to present on this information. Thanks, Bryce.
Hello, everyone. This is Bryce. Got some echoes going on there. There, can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm from BSI Insurance in Altona here. I've been an insurance broker for about 13 years, so I have lots of experience when it comes to dealing with tenants insurance and house insurance, those kind of things. So today we're going to be covering all those issues, and yeah, let's get started. All right, so a little bit about myself here. I'm just going to share my screen. Is it sharing there now? Okay, perfect. All right, so like I said, I work with BSI Insurance, and BSI has been in the community for many years, since the early 60s, and we have about 16 brokerages across southern Manitoba. And yeah, we have lots of different community projects that we're part of. So if you need more information about that, you can definitely let us know. We have all different kinds of products and services that we offer as part of the community. And we would love to talk to you and help you protect things that are important and valuable to you. So today we're going to look at products and services. Products and services, things that insurance covers. Things that we're going to be focusing on today is tenant insurance or contents insurance. Some people call it fire insurance. There's different ways of calling it, but we're going to refer to it as tenants insurance for simplicity today. Different things that people look at as far as insurance goes is home insurance. In Manitoba, we have the government insurance for vehicles and driver's license. It's called Autopack. And then there's different life insurance, pet insurance, boat insurance, travel insurance, medical insurance. Those are all different kinds of insurance that we deal with on a regular basis. So some of the things that we'll look at for specifically is tenants insurance. So whether you rent an apartment, a house, or a condo, you have some of the same needs as someone who owns a house. So the important thing is to make sure that you're protected. Tenants insurance protects you, your belongings, products, protects you financially against insured or loss to furniture, clothing, or other personal property. So what does it mean to have a loss? A loss is when something happens to your apartment or the house that you're renting. Maybe there's a fire or something burns in the kitchen and there's smoke damage, and maybe your furniture is ruined. Those are the kind of things that would be included in a loss. That means you've suffered a financial loss. So it will give you coverage for rental home, apartment, or items in your vehicle if someone would break in your vehicle and steal any clothes or money or possessions in your vehicle. It also helps cover expenses like moving costs, a hotel room, and more if you can't live in your rental while the repairs are being made after an insured loss. So as an example, if there would be a fire in your apartment building and you needed to move out to live somewhere else, the insurance policy would pay any of the extra costs that you would have, such as renting a hotel room, or if you needed extra coverage for childcare, things like that. It also helps protect you from financial losses if you've accidentally caused property damage or bodily injury to others at home or anywhere in the world. So, what does insurance cover? The big things insurance covers are your contents. So, when we talk about contents or personal possessions, what are we talking about? We're talking about your clothes, we're talking about furniture, maybe a bedroom suite, table, chairs, sofas, electronics, maybe a TV, computer, laptop, cell phones, and food items that you might have in your fridge or freezer, jewelry, anything that you own that is inside your apartment. That is what we are looking to protect in the event that there would be a fire or smoke damage, as an example. Like I said before, the additional living expenses is another great thing that's included in tenants insurance. That would be anything that costs you over and above what your normal day-to-day expenses would be. So for example, if you need to live in a hotel while your apartment is being repaired, or a different rental property while your current one is being fixed up, the insurance policy will pay for those extra costs that are above your normal expenses. So that part is very good, because sometimes you can have lots of expensive costs that will add up when you have to move to a new apartment because of a fire or smoke, or maybe there's water damage in the building. Something happens and it forces you to move to a new location. The third thing that's included in your tenant's insurance is liability. What is liability? Liability is when you've accidentally caused someone else to be in a financial loss and they sue you. So there has to be a lawsuit brought against you. So for an example, if you had someone over to your house, maybe you were having a party or you were hosting a birthday party or had some friends down, and somehow you left something on the floor and someone tripped over it and hurt themselves. And maybe they didn't have proper medical coverage. They had to call the ambulance. And if they wanted to sue you for that, this is the coverage that would protect you from any lawsuit. Another example would be if while you were cooking, or if you had a candle or some kind of electronic device in your apartment that malfunctioned or caused a fire and caused damage to your landlord's apartment, he may try to sue you for those damages. So having liability coverage will protect you from lawyer fees and court costs if you've been found guilty for that. All right, what does insurance all cover? So your insurance policy covers you for all your possessions in your building, on your property. So if you're renting a house, it would cover the items that you own that are inside your house, or inside a shed or garage that are on the property that you're renting. You always want to make sure that you are including all the things that you own. So if you own a lawnmower or a fridge or freezer, that's what you're looking at to make sure that you have complete coverage for all your items. It also gives you coverage for things off premise. So if you are in the process of moving, you would have coverage at your new location as well. Off premises could mean things stored in your vehicle, Or if you have a storage locker, you may need to add additional coverage onto your policy if things are stored in a different location. While you're moving, it's very important to make sure you have coverage, because sometimes when people are moving things break. So maybe a moving home or moving company is helping you move your possessions from one apartment to another. Making sure that you have coverage for that is important if something would be damaged. All right, so are there different types of insurance coverage? Yes. There's two basic types of insurance coverage when it comes to tenants insurance. The most common policy that people purchase is called a comprehensive policy. It is an all-risk style policy, and it covers most of the big things like fire, explosion, windstorm, hail. Those are big things that you may experience that may cause you financial loss. There is a cheaper package available called standard coverage. It includes only basic coverages and doesn't include things like mysterious disappearance or accidental breakage. Mysterious disappearance could be if you forgot to lock the door when you went to work, and you came home and your door was open and all your items were missing. Now you don't have a way of being able to prove that someone broke into your house and stole them. So mysterious disappearance is a big exclusion, which means it's not covered under a basic insurance policy. So more people will prefer to go to the comprehensive coverage as opposed to the standard coverage, which may only save them a few dollars. So my recommendation is always to have the comprehensive, which is the better coverage. Accidental breakage would be if you're moving some furniture and accidentally knock the TV off the wall. If you have an expensive TV, your TV would be included under accidental breakage with comprehensive, but not covered under the standard cheaper policy. So when we look at an insurance policy, what is a deductible? That's a big question I get, and some people struggle trying to understand what a deductible is. So a deductible is the part of the loss that you have to pay before the insurance company will respond and pay out the claim on the policy. So there's different levels of deductibles that you can purchase to make your insurance policy cheaper. As an example, most tenant insurance policies in Canada carry a $500 deductible. That means if you have a claim, whether it be a fire or someone's stolen something, or you've had a big item that's been accidentally damaged, you would pay the first $500 and the insurance company would come in and pay the difference. So that is a deductible in its basic information. Another question I get asked a lot is, how much coverage should I buy? That is a very difficult question because everyone has different items. It all depends on what you have and what is important to you, what you want to protect. So as an example, some people might just shop at MCC and have some very cheap furniture and not very expensive items, which is great. But if you were to have a loss and you needed to now go out and buy new appliances, new furniture, MCC may not have those items readily available. So you now have to go to a regular store and buy items at the regular market value. This can be very expensive when you're buying everything brand new at one time. For an example, if there's a fire in your apartment building and all your possessions are burnt, you now have to go and buy everything brand new. So it's important to look at how much coverage do I need. So a good way of doing that, figuring that out, is to go through your possessions and try and figure out how much would it cost for a new washing machine, maybe a new dryer, kitchen stove. If those are included in your apartment and in your rent, like as in you do not own them, you don't have to insure those items. Only the items that you physically or actually own, those are what you're looking to insure. So some people maybe have expensive table and chairs, or maybe a very expensive couch or sofa that maybe is leather. Something like that would be more expensive to insure than a cheaper cloth one. So it all depends on what you have. So the best thing to do is to go through all your possessions and try and figure out how much it would cost to replace each item. And using that, you want to put that together in a total. That's what you would want to insure your value at. You want to make sure that you're not missing anything, because if you forget about your $1,000 computer and $500 TV, maybe a $1,000 cell phone, all these little items and things like clothes, they can be so expensive to go out and buy new. So you want to make sure that you have a limit high enough to cover all your possessions. Did anyone have any questions about this at this point?
Yes, thank you, Bryce. Everything sounds really great right now. I'm just going to mute you for a moment. There is a question here that says, does insurance include some handyman services? So bringing people in to fix things if they break.
That's a great question. Now, if things break and you want to make a claim on your policy, you have to remember that your policy has a deductible, which means you have to pay the first part of a claim. So if it's an insured loss, for example, handyman services could be maybe repairing a washer or dryer, or if there was something else that was broken in your house and you wanted someone to come in and repair it, there's a good chance that those services will be less than what your deductible is, and you may not need to make a claim on that. Your policy will only respond if it is an insured loss, which means it has to be something the insurance company is going to cover. If a fridge or a stove or washer, dryer, or appliance just suddenly stops working, most insurance companies will not pay for those kind of losses. It has to be something that's sudden, accidental, like maybe if your house or apartment was hit by lightning, or if there was a surge from Manitoba Hydro. Those are the kind of things that your policy would respond for to give you coverage. But if it just stops working, that's a term the insurance companies called natural wear and tear, which means the appliance or the item is getting older and no longer works because of its age. And in some cases, if there was warranty on the item, you would want to go through the manufacturer to get coverage for that. So in most cases, handyman services will not be covered when it comes to smaller things like that.
That's a great answer. And if that answer was not provided with the question you had, please feel free to ask further questions and we can make sure we get that answer to you. There is another question that says, so deductibles, do they increase if I continue to use different insurance claims? If I use multiple insurance claims, will my deductible change?
Another great question. Your deductible will not change unless you've made enough claims that an insurance company will impose restrictions in coverages. If someone makes a lot of claims, some insurance companies may just not offer coverage to that person. So the claims are designed for big losses. If you're making small claims for maybe $700, $800, $900, smaller things like that, most insurance companies will eventually impose restrictions or will just not offer coverage. So that is a great question. Your deductible, normally though, when you make regular claims, will not change.
Okay, so just ensuring that insurance is available for those big moments where things where you had a big loss, a financial loss, or there's a substantial amount of money needed to recover the items that you lost. That's what insurance is there for. rather than the little things like a washing machine or things like that. Just want to clarify that that's your message. Okay, good. All right, that's all the questions we have so far. If you want to.
All right. So to the next question, what is the difference between house insurance and tenants insurance? So that's a great question. The big difference is if you own a house, you're looking to get physical coverage for the building itself. With a tenants insurance, the only thing that you're concerned about is protecting your contents that are inside the house. If you do end up buying a house, you will need to make sure that your house is insured to the full replacement value, which means if there's a fire, we want you to be able to get a new house built to replace the one that was damaged. Or as a different example, in southern Manitoba, we have a lot of wind and hail. So you want to make sure that your house has coverage for hail damage, or if the wind would damage your shingles or cause other damage to the home itself. So when you think of house insurance, think of coverage for the main building along with everything that's inside it. Whereas tenants insurance, you're only insuring what's inside the house, such as your personal possessions and personal belongings. So that's the difference between house insurance and tenants insurance. Another question we get is, how do I pay for the insurance? Is it monthly? Is it yearly? So insurance is a one-year contract that you pay either in full, or you can make it with monthly installment payments that are pre-authorized that automatically get pulled out of your bank account. So the next question is, if I can't pay my monthly fee, how does this affect my insurance? So that really will affect your insurance because if you can't make your payment, most insurance companies are very quick to cancel your policy for non-payment, which means you did not make your payment or you did not have enough funds in your bank account for the bank to withdraw the correct amount for the funds. In most cases, the insurance company will let me know, the broker, and then I contact the client and let them know that the payment didn't go through and that they owe a certain amount of money, plus probably a fee of some form, maybe a non-sufficient funds fee or an overdraft fee or some kind of fee is what the insurance companies will normally charge if you can't make your payment. By having a payment that doesn't go through your account does actually affect you in the long run because it goes onto your insurance history, kind of like a speeding ticket does for your car insurance. If you have had problems with making payments in the past, lots of insurance companies will not offer coverage because of a payment history. So it's very important to do your best to make sure that you can make your payments. And if for some reason you're unable to do that, that you call your broker right away and let them know your issue, and they can try and work with the insurance company and try and help you through the situation. So the best option is to always be upfront with the insurance company and contact your broker right away so they can try and help you out. All right, did we have any other questions on those topics?
No, right now we're still good. We don't have any other questions. Thanks.
All right. So the next question is, whose name should be on the contract, on the insurance contract? Should it be everyone in my family? A simple answer is no. All insurance policies in Canada automatically give you coverage in your tenants insurance or home insurance for your immediate family living with you. Lots of people prefer to put their personal name or a name of a spouse on the policy as joint policy holders, and the coverage will automatically extend to their family. In the event you have someone living with you who's not an immediate family member, as in you, your spouse, and children, maybe you have a parent living with you, or a brother and sister living with you, those are ones that you want to have listed on the policy as an additional named insured if you want their contents covered under your policy. So there are different things that may need to happen in that case, but the best thing for you to do is to call your insurance broker and ask them the question, and they can give you the best situation or the best advice for your situation.
We do have a couple questions here. We talked about what things are covered by insurance, and I think you may want to review that at the end, things that may be covered by insurance. But also a question here is, how much will the payment be, and what are the payment terms?
So the question is, what would the payment, how much would the payment be, and how much, or what are the payment terms? In most cases, the payment amount depends on how much insurance you're purchasing. As an example, if you are purchasing the smallest insurance policy, you might be looking at premiums of about $150 to $200 for 1 year. So if you're on a payment plan, that would be divided into 12 monthly installments. And with monthly installments, the insurance company will also add interest and financing fees. So if you have a lot of possessions or very expensive things, your policy might be upwards of $500. If you're looking for extra coverage for things that aren't included in a basic insurance policy, things like sewer backup coverage, if you're renting an apartment in the basement, or if you have a house and you're storing possessions in the basement, things like sewer backup coverage can add a lot of value to your policy if there would ever be damage from the sewer. But that comes with a cost. There's a normal amount for sewer backup would range in $5,000 increments. So if you wanted, for example, $5,000 of coverage, you would probably be looking at approximately $90 a year extra cost for sewer backup. So the payment terms are normally divided into 12 installments with approximately 5% interest added onto each payment. I'm not sure if that quite answers the question as far as the payment terms, but the thing to remember with payment terms is if you can't make the payment, you've already signed a pre-authorized agreement that says that you're going to make those payments. So when you break that agreement by not having funds available, normally your bank will charge you an overdraft fee, and the insurance company will most likely charge you a late payment fee or an NSF fee as well.
Thank you. There is another question here, and I think you talked about it earlier, but maybe just, I guess, re-discuss some of this information. It says, does insurance cover break-ins?
All right, so the question is, will insurance cover break-ins? As long as you have the comprehensive policy, you will get coverage for break-ins. With break-in, there's normally signs of forced entry, which means someone has either smashed a window or they've broken a door. So there's damage inside the house to get into your possessions. So that would be covered under your comprehensive policy. If someone broke into your house through an open window or an unlocked door, that would be then considered mysterious disappearance because there's no signs of forced entry. That would not be included under a basic policy, but you would have coverage under the comprehensive policy. Therefore, the comprehensive policy is still the better option for that type of loss.
That's great. Thank you for answering that question again. There is a question here. We're talking about terms and monthly payments and things like that. So that relates to that. So what if I miss to renew my plan for a year, but I'd like to get it again and continue? Would that be okay?
So if your policy has lapsed and you did not renew it, there would normally be a reason for you not wanting to renew it. So insurance companies do look at why you did not renew a policy last time. So depending on what your reason was for not renewing it, if it was just that you didn't require coverage or if you couldn't afford the policy, those are the things they would look at. In most cases, if it was canceled by yourself, there will normally be no issues with getting an insurance policy reinstated or taking out a new policy with a new provider. You do have to declare that you did have a prior insurance policy, as that does go onto part of your record. All right, so on to the next question. Do I need to put my landlord's information on the policy? The answer is no, because your tenant's insurance policy is your personal policy and has nothing to do with your landlord. According to the Manitoba Tenancies branch, tenant's insurance is something that your landlord cannot require you to purchase. It is something that you have control over yourself. It is your own personal policy, and it is there to protect you, not your landlord. So we do not require any landlord information, and your landlord legally cannot ask you for that, is my understanding. And in relation to that, why doesn't my landlord's insurance cover items that are in my home? Well, that's because the landlord's policy is only there to protect the landlord. It is not his job to insure any of your belongings or your possessions because they're your personal items. So why do I need insurance if my building is insured? For the simple reason that the landlord's policy specifically excludes coverage for tenants' possessions. That means that you need to go out and buy a tenant's package to cover your own belongings.
So just to be clear, the landlord's insurance covers the building itself. The tenant's insurance covers everything inside in your apartment or in your home.
As long as those things are yours, not the landlord's.
Correct, right? So we talked about making a list of things that were yours and what that would
Correct.
cover. So, okay, no, that's good clarification.
All right, can my rent include tenant's insurance? The answer is, again, no. Your tenant's insurance is your individual, your personal policy, and probably contains personal information that your landlord should not have access to. It's based on your individual items that you own and that you want coverage for. The landlord doesn't know what is important to you and what kind of things you want coverage for. So he is not able to purchase insurance for your personal contents. Therefore, it cannot be included in rent for your monthly rent on your apartment. All right, so the next question is, what if I move? Do I need to change the information on my insurance, or does it move along with me? So the simple answer is yes, you need to change the insurance. It is very important that if you move to a new location or to a new apartment, or you rent a house, even if it's in a different city, you can let your broker know that what your new address is, and they will change your policy so that it will follow along with you. So it's a yes and no answer to this question, but it's very important that you let your broker know that you're moving and that they can add that new location onto your policy and cancel the old one. If for some reason you forget to advise or let the broker know that you've moved, there may be a chance the insurance company may decline a claim because they are not insuring the correct location. So your policy can move along with you. You just have to make sure you let your broker and insurance company know that you're moving. This goes the same for Autopack for your driver's license in Manitoba. You legally have to report address changes to MPI within a prescribed time frame of approximately 10 business days. So with that, definitely let your insurance broker know when you plan on moving. All right, what documents are needed for me to record my property items? So most people don't take a list of the items that they have in their house or in their apartment. And when they need to make a claim, they don't remember what they had. So in order to protect yourself, it's very important that you either take photos or have a list of all your possessions. So whether you take pictures of each individual item, maybe you open a drawer and you take one picture of there, or walk through your house with a video camera, videoing different things. Those ways of documenting information is going to help you in the event of a claim, should there ever be an emergency where your apartment would burn down or a house fire. Most people will have to evacuate very quickly and can't take a lot of their possessions with them. So if you have proof of those by photos or a video, that will really help you in making sure you get the full benefit out of your insurance policy. In Manitoba, you have a statutory 2-year limit to make a claim with an insurance company, which means even if you don't make the claim right away, you can still make the claim up to 2 years after the date of your loss or the date of your fire or whatever the situation was. So having that information is very important because lots of people might forget what they all had in the house or in the apartment. So that's a very good way of keeping track of things. And I think that is the conclusion of most of the questions here. So the big thing that you want to remember, the big takeaway item for today, in my opinion, would be to make sure you have a high enough limit on your contents. So many people ask me, well, Bryce, what should I insure in my apartment? The big things that you want to remember are that clothes are very expensive when you're looking at buying new clothes. And just because you bought some things from MCC doesn't mean that you should have just the basic policy. Because when there's a fire and you've lost everything, going out and buying new clothes, maybe glasses, jewelry, electronics, those things are very expensive and it costs a lot of money. And most people end up not having enough insurance to replace the things that are very valuable and important to them.
Thank you, Bryce. We do have one more question here before we end. It's a unique situation, and I think it kind of falls into liability, but I'd be interested to hear your answer on this. It says, what if by accident I damaged the elevator? I heard a situation where the person traveled and somehow a tap leaked water which flooded the unit, but also went into the elevator building.
So that's a great question. If there was something that happened that you were told that you were at fault for, that was accidental, that's where your policy liability will respond to cover you in the event you are found at fault. Now, most insurance policies, be it tenants insurance or home insurance, they carry liability limits. So if you're in a big apartment building and there's a water leak that you didn't realize and there's damage, your policy will probably have $1 million liability, $1 million of liability coverage that will extend to protect you from any damages that you get sued for. Your policy will not just pay out on its own. You have to be sued in order for your liability coverage to respond. And you have to be found negligent, which means you were at fault. Now, if you were aware of a water leak in your apartment for a long time and you didn't do anything to fix it, or you didn't call a plumber to repair the leak or let your landlord know about the issue, then that falls into the hands of the lawyers to figure out who is responsible and who is going to be the one to pay the damages. So it's very important that you do your best as either a homeowner or as a tenant to make sure that if there's any issues that you identify them and you let your landlord know right away if there's a problem, such as a water leak, or if there's a leak in the roof, or anything that's out of the ordinary. It's important that you let them know that that needs to be addressed. And in most cases, if you can do that via email, so it can be documented to show that you did try to contact someone, that's going to be your best case of action in the event that there's a lawsuit, because you now have evidence that you tried to contact someone to fix or repair the problem. So I'm thinking that answers that.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, Bryce, for taking the time. I'll just wait about 30 seconds here to see if there's any other questions. Again, if you have questions, on the bottom of your screen, if you're using a computer, we'll have a Q&A box as well as a chat box. You can use either one to ask questions to Bryce, and he will be here for, yeah, I'd say the next 20 seconds or so. Take your time in asking questions if you have. Just get a little bit of time here. All right, well, I don't see any questions so far, but if you do have questions about what was talked about today or questions about insurance, there are lots of local insurance brokers in each community. Bryce is from the Altona community and does a very good job in educating people on insurance. But if you're from Morden, Winkler, or any community within Manitoba, or anywhere, insurance brokers are all over the place, and I'm sure they'd be willing to answer questions for you. You can also email info@regionalconnections.ca and talk to your settlement worker. They would also be available to answer questions and help you get tenant insurance and get you settled with some insurance if you are renting. Again, thanks again, Bryce, for your time. And this webinar is recorded and it will be available on YouTube within the next day or two. Thank you.